Hey, what's up? It's Comic 95, the Savior, and for this video, I will be responding back to another comment that I received a little while ago. I'm gonna push this video to the front because I wanted to get back to a lot of these comments that I received responses to. Not to mention, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy getting you guys comments back on these type of videos. I know it's gonna stir the pot more and cause more of the same people to keep coming here, which I'll make a video about that too. That I find really funny. That I constantly see why people talk about people playing a race card, but it's anytime you make a video about race, the main people that I see that get attracted to the video are white people. So aren't you all kind of being hypocritical? You complain about the race card being played, but then anytime somebody is playing the race card, you guys are you zoom to those videos, those comment sections, whatever, which is what I find very funny and kind of telling on yourself. But that's another story. I should also add this too for anybody new here. This topic of race and no discrimination goes for mostly you guys. You are the majority of foreigners here when it comes to non-Asian foreigners. It's white people, not black people. I am a black woman talking. Do not be fooled by me. I am not talking about black people. I'm talking about all of us. But you are really who I'm speaking on, not me. When people have issues with foreigners that are not Asian in particular, you are the poster child of what comes to mind, not a black person. Now that we have that out of the way, that when you talk about the race card, you're kind of talking about yourself, not me. So yeah, let's keep it going. This comment was a little bit long. It was respectful, but I also disagreed with it. Let me put some chapstick on. Anyway, sorry y'all, my lips are dry. And let me also warn you, this is my opinion, my content, my channel, my space. I will talk about what I want to, how I want to, whether you like it or not. And this is also a rant. So if you don't want to listen to a long response, whatever, then don't watch this content. I wouldn't say out loud, hey, I'm stupid and I have a short attention span, but that seems to be the trend amongst both millennials and Gen Z, but couldn't be me, bitch. But anyway, back on subject. I will be drinking water too because your girl's thirsty and I'm doing a lot of talking. I just got to making a 2-hour video responding back to another dumb bitch, but this person wasn't quite exactly stupid, but their comment kind of was. I don't know if you're black or white and I really don't care what you are. I'm assuming that they're black after reading the comment a second time, or a third time I should say, because it kind of sounded like maybe they're black, but I don't really care what you are. That's irrelevant to what I'm about to talk about for this video. But basically, they were trying to redefine and, say that they don't like people using the term racist. Which is funny too, because again, it's funny that another video, I swear, I'll be coming up with video ideas while I'm making a video idea in response to your video idea. But another thing that I find funny, and this will be a separate video, people hate being called racist so much, but they don't do anything to stop being called racist. I don't know, stop being a racist? Huh? It's like saying, I hate people, I don't know, making fun of me for being dumb. It never occurred to you that you could become smart. Nothing's stopping you from learning how to do math and shit. All right, well, this is the same thing, except even easier. I'm having to learn a skill like math. Excuse me, I hit my computer a second ago. All you have to do is stop being so damn hateful. It's that simple. It's really that easy. Or saying, hey, I'm not a greedy person. Well, then stop keeping everything to yourself. Start sharing more. Hey, I'm not a stingy person. Okay, then stop being stingy. I don't stink. Take a shower if you want people to say that you smell bad. It's really that simple. I swear I'm not God. I'm not some sort of prophet. I'm just giving you common sense. You don't want to have people saying, hey, it stinks in here when they're around you, then maybe wear some deodorant, take a shower, lose some weight so you don't sweat so much. It's literally that simple. But apparently this is rocket science for everybody. So I just want to let you know in case it was rocket science for you too and nobody told you today. Most of your problems you can fix by doing the opposite of what you're doing right now. A lot of you guys are lonely. Have you tried to talk to anybody? Have you downloaded any dating apps? Have you joined any groups? Do you go to any parties? Do you even have a job? If the answer is no, then shit, I don't know, maybe do the opposite, because what you're doing is not working. Just a thought. Hey, I'm broke. Have you tried not being broke? Now that sounds crazy, but hear me out when I say that. Apply for a job, volunteering, making connections. It sounds so cliche and generic, but guess what? If you don't do shit, you don't get shit. Or in black terms, closed mouths don't get fed. So, back on subject. I'm not in the mood to make a 3-hour video, but I'm about to. People get mad about that. And they want to redefine things. So we have all these little silly words. Prejudice, which literally just means racist. Xenophobic, which literally just means racist. Anything to say besides the word racist, right? For example, like, you can't call somebody fat. We have to say bigger people. Overweight. Anything besides just saying, no, you're fat. Because fat is too blunt, right? We can't call you ugly. We just say, oh, everyone's unique. You're beautiful in your own way, because that's too blunt, right? Well, if somebody says that you're okay, you're unique, everyone's beautiful, pretty much just called you ugly, all right? Like, slice it however you want to. Words don't matter. It all means the same thing. They're all synonyms for each other. Or, that's not a synonym, but you know what I mean. A synonym saying. It's synonymous with it. It means the same thing. If I say, well, you're not beautiful, but okay, well, I'm saying you're not beautiful. It don't matter what other word I used. If it doesn't also mean beautiful, I'm saying you're lesser than beautiful. I'm not necessarily saying you're ugly. Or saying, oh, their baby looks just like their dad. Well, if I don't think the dad look good, what the fuck does that make you? So, anyway, y'all. This is my thing. It's much easier to just stop being racist than to get mad about people define things. I literally read you all the definition of it in the dictionary. I'm not going to rebrand things to make you or the Japanese feel better. I don't care if you feel that something's overplayed. There were some fallacies in what they had to say too. And one of the biggest and dumbest ones, I'm not gonna lie, made me think you were white, but I don't know what you are based on your comment. And that is the idea that most foreigners are rude, loud, dirty, disrespectful, and break rules. I made videos about this years ago, and I have some more recent ones that have not been edited yet. Let me tell you, for those of you guys that don't know, I am a foreigner. I have lived in Japan for nearly 10 years. I can assure you, even although I have my own videos complaining about things I've seen foreigners do, including new ones that have not been published yet, the vast majority of foreigners do indeed follow the rules, and arguably better than the Japanese themselves do, because many of them are paranoid about breaking the rules. What you see is a hyperfixation on the ones that break the rules, because that's exactly what a racist wants you to focus on. Likewise, black people. White people, calm down, but hear me out. If you're black, you get what I'm saying. If you watch the news, you would think every black person is a gangbanger, arpist, armed robber. That's not true. The vast, overwhelming majority of us have never done that stuff, never would, never have. We may know somebody that does. I think most of us know somebody that's done one of those things. But we don't all do that. Most of us don't. Okay. Well, Japan is the same way from a foreigner perspective. Yes, I know of foreigners that have done these things. I see foreigners that do these things. But I can also assure you, not even putting my own hat in this ring, the majority of people that I'm around, they don't do that. The majority of times that I'm walking by a group of foreigners, the most sinful thing they might do is be talking a little too loud at best. And I'm not talking about very loud. I mean just a little bit louder than they should be. Or maybe even speaking in a place they shouldn't be talking. But then again, the Japanese do that too. That is the worst thing you'll ever see them do. That stupid mindset that the majority of us are doing these things is false. And that is an excuse used to justify racism. And as a black person, I know this all too well. Because it's the same thing that happens in America. It has been used to encourage racism towards blacks in America. It's also a heavy part of what encouraged Jim Crow laws. Why we needed things to be separate but equal. It's the same mindset. And that is why I'm saying to you, I know firsthand that is a lie. The majority of black people that you go by have no interest in you. They're not trying to steal from you or you anything else. Likewise, the majority of foreigners that you interact with, or not even the ones that interact with, the ones that you see, same difference. They're enjoying their vacation, taking their pictures, eating their food. They're not running around breaking rules and damn. Even the Chinese that y'all love to get on them too. Nope, they don't. Do I see them do stuff that's wrong? Yes. Do foreigners break rules? Of course. But I can also add, if I were to keep a tally pad of who I see breaking rules, in fact, I want to do that for a video one day. I'm going to do that. I'm going to set up a whole month where I just go out and about, and every time I see something breaking a rule, I'm going to keep tabs on it. Who did it, when, where, how, what. And I'd even say that's not fair, because even if I were to do that, I can assure you it's going to be JaPaNeSe is going to win that by far. But even if I were to do that, it still wouldn't be fair, because I can't judge somebody that may not know the rules, somebody that knows the rules and still knowingly doesn't follow them. And that would be the JaPaNeSe. They're born and raised in this country. I made a video about this already, but it hasn't been edited and uploaded yet. They know what to do and still don't do it. Now, I don't know about you, but even the Bible says that's the worst person. It literally says you will be judged based on your understanding. And hey, I apply that to real life too. Generally speaking, as a child, you don't get in trouble for certain things because you're not expected to know better. But as you get older, even as a child, as you age as a child, you have higher expectations based off of what you should know. For example, I'm not going to punish my baby for lying to me or, taking something not supposed to because they're a baby. But once my baby gets to be 12 years old and stuff, you're going to get your ass beat. Really, it's a very different world now. Because now you know it was wrong to take that cookie. Now you know it was wrong to, be playing with my vase. You see what I'm trying to say? You learn as you get older. So, in this case, if you were born and raised in Japan, you have an unfair advantage. You should know Japanese rules, culture, whatever, language. I expect you to be able to follow the rules because you were raised with the rules. You should know the rules. That's been your day-to-day life here. Whereas somebody that just got off a plane, not everybody spends 6 years on YouTube watching every single video. Not to mention, a lot of these videos contradict themselves. There's videos you can watch on what to do and what not to do that contradict things that I will tell you what to do and what not to do. That's confusing. Even Japanese people lie about what to do, what not to do. So, anyway, let me go ahead. Okay, so their comment starts off weird. It says, yes, I'll play the race card. I can't really tell. I'm assuming you're being sarcastic here. I don't really get what you're saying, but okay. I think it's important to include white individuals when it comes to racism towards foreigners. The majority of foreigners who can afford to be a foreigner from America in the first place are white individuals, and so they created the reputations that we all have today. Never really thought of it that way, but yeah, that's actually 100% true. I don't typically like the word racism because it automatically implies that the other is a victim. Again, mixed feelings towards that. I would love to be able to pick your brain. In what scenario is someone not a victim if someone's being racist towards them? Just like bullying. It's like saying, I hate the term bullying because it implies that the other person that's being bullied is a victim. They kind of are. If you are harassing, hurting someone physically or mentally, whether it be with your words or, with your actions, hitting them or whatever, you're, a bully. And you are the person at fault. And whoever you are abusing is now your victim. And the same way goes to racism. If you are actively doing things to make somebody's life harder, stereotyping and boxing them into whatever category that you have for them based off of their nationality and or race, not based off of their actions, but based off of because of who you are, I'm going to treat you badly, which is what racism is, then yeah, that is a victim, then whether you like it or not. Now, being a victim doesn't mean you have to be weak and helpless. For example, somebody can be bullying you and you can still defend yourself. That does not take away from the fact that they are still a bully. So anyway, okay, sorry about that, you guys. I literally just got through eating, and now I'm ready to get back to what I was saying earlier. But yeah, anyway, back onto the whole bullying thing. This is too deep of a topic for this video. We have to talk about it later. I know this is going to start an argument, but yeah. Bullying someone, if you are being bullied, whether you like being called a victim or you feel like it makes you weak or whatever, you are a victim. How you act as a victim is up to you. Being a victim does not mean that you're weak or you're a bad person or you're a loser. It literally just means somebody did something bad to you. For example, if somebody breaks into your house, you may be bigger, faster, stronger. You may have weapons that they do not. But if they broke into your house, you would be a victim of that crime. Do we understand? Capiche? Capiche? Okay. Same situation. while you may not feel like you're a victim, or you don't like the idea of somebody else being a victim because you feel like that puts them in a position where people feel sorry for them, and for some reason your dumb brain gets all fuzzy over that, doesn't make a difference. It's just facts. If you are the one being abused, you are the victim. Also, I wouldn't even say a fine line, but there's a line and a difference between someone doing something or thinking poorly of you because you showed them poor actions, and someone being racist towards you. For example, if you happen to be a black man and you break into my house, I'm not being racist for calling you a thief or a burglar. You are one. However, if I am assuming that this is what you are because you are a black man, that would be a prejudice, racially based, aka racist, ideology, idea, thinking, whatever you want to call it. I'm not the best at explaining this to you, but that's the best way that I could put it. There's a difference between calling out something for what it is and stereotypically assuming that someone does something or is something or believes something based on their race and or nationality. For example, the assumption that because you're an American, you have this outgoing, I don't think about other people's thoughts or feelings, I'm selfish, all for myself personality, that would be considered as technically a stereotype. If you are going to treat me poorly based on that stereotype, for example, if you were to say, well, I'm sorry, but, we couldn't hire you to have a job as, I don't know, an assistant because the American you want to be the manager. Well, that would technically be racist right there. You don't know me or my personality. You're assuming that I don't have the means to do this. Now, let me say this in a way that you guys can understand, because I know you guys are fucking weeps. Let's use Japan. Let's say that you're applying for a job as a Japanese person, and they refuse to give you the position of a manager, not because your credentials are bad, not because you're a bad person, but because you're Asian. An Asian person can't be a manager, especially not an Asian woman. That would be racist, would it not? You are discrediting all of their accomplishments, their credentials, everything, based solely on the fact that they're Asian. That would be unfair. You deciding that you already don't like me because I'm an American or because I'm black, that would be unfair to me. I have not given you reason not to. You decided because I am black, I'm all of these bad things. This in Japan is not so much a white or black issue, but rather a Japanese versus foreigner issue. For you to decide that I'm not allowed somewhere because I'm not Japanese would be unfair. The reality is, like I said before, most foreigners, the overwhelming majority of them, follow the rules, and the few that break them, most of the time, it's a matter of ignorance and not knowing the rules. Do I get annoyed when I see people break rules? Yeah, of course. I'm not going to lie to you, pretend like it doesn't bother me at all. But I will say, most of the rule breaking that happens here is, one, done out of innocence and ignorance, people that don't know any better, and two, it's not really breaking anything serious in the first place. The majority of rule breaking that goes on here is really just talking or not knowing which way to stand or walk, etc. Simple, small things. But because you are, not you as the person leaving the comment per se, but the Japanese to get bothered by this, because you are already prejudiced and racist. You are looking for something for them to do wrong, and the moment that it happens, now that's your excuse to, get really angry over the whole thing. We're already actively looking for an excuse to decide that foreigners are bad people. So the moment that you see somebody do something wrong, now you go crazy with it. And I should also add this too. If you're looking for something, you'll find it. And not just that. If you were to be honest with yourself and have kept that same energy for the Japanese, you would agree with me. You see them doing all of those things way more than even the Chinese people do or any other group that you can think of. That is the point of what I'm saying. I'm going to read the rest of their comment, but as you go further into their comment, if I recall, or at least I've seen other people do this, if not this person, they will say all of that shit, and then they'll imply, oh, well, basically racism is justified because these things do happen a lot. Well, by your standard, then you should agree that racism towards me is justified then, because fine, granted, if you look at who fills up prisons, is it not black people? Sure. But I think the other issue is, who makes up the majority of the poorest in this country? Racially, it's black people. So is the issue really a matter of your race is what causes you to do things, or is it a matter of your upbringing? Having no money, not having fathers, etc. And also, do you all forget that we are literally the descendants of generational trauma? Do you all think that they were just like, oh, slavery's over, all right, everybody go back to, regular business as usual? Homes were broken. It's funny how, I'll make a video about this later, but like people have sympathy and feel so angry about the idea of ARPists these days, or people that have been abused, etc., right? But then it's like, okay, you all understand that for people now, but do you all not understand what happens when those same people go on to reproduce and create their own families? The trauma doesn't just magically go away, you all. You can't have hurt and damaged people that have been abused by your ancestors, go on and have their own lives and create children, etc., with no direction. I'm just saying. Anyway, I can go on about this crap forever. My point is this. The idea that you're going to treat somebody poorly based on them not being like you is stupid. Racism is dumb. I can take race jokes. I can laugh at those for days. I'm not a sensitive person. But I can also tell you, the idea of thinking that you are superior than somebody else based off of your nationality and or your race is stupid. The reality is, if you decide in your heart that you are prejudiced and you don't like a certain group, everything they do will piss you off. I notice all the time conversations that I have with white people in particular, in which I hear and see them do things that I'm like, there's no way in hell I could do this as a black person, especially in the workplace, because of the double standard that exists. If I do it, I'm ghetto, I'm rude, I'm mean. If you do it, it's funny, it's inspirational, you're just being yourself. You're just outgoing. But if I do that, it would be considered as ghetto. But anyway, if you decide that you don't like Americans, everything an American does, especially if it happens to be different from the way you do things, it will always be wrong and not good enough. Likewise, if you don't like Japanese people, everything that they do, Asian people in general, everything that they do will never be good enough. It'll be annoying, it'll anger you, etc. For some reason, like Japan attracts like these racist apologists, if you will, for some reason, that you all feel like you're living vicariously through them or something. I just think it's weird and dumb too. It's like they don't like you all either, and I guess you guys are happy about that, but whatever. Anyway, it's like that whole mindset is dumb. If you were to be honest with yourself, the vast majority of foreigners here do follow the rules. And let me also add this too. It wouldn't change what I'm saying, even if the majority did not. That would still be faulty thinking. So because other people do something wrong, I should be punished too? Think about it at work. Let's say that you work a job and everybody decided to do a no call, no show except for you. Should your boss fire everyone? Or should your boss let you stay and get rid of the rest of them? I don't know about you, but I think I should be allowed to keep my job and they should lose theirs. Because just because everyone else decided to do no call, no show does not mean that I should be punished. I did my job. I even showed up. I worked. I might be friends with some of them, but they're not me. And I didn't influence them to do what they did. That would be unfair, right? Okay. So it would be unfair for me to have to deal with being treated badly based off of black stereotypes. I'm using black because I'm black. We're talking about Japan though. So really the issues I'm talking about is all foreigners. Which you already know that, but I'm just explaining for anybody watching this that's new here, because I know that this video is going to attract the racist white people that can't wait to say shit about me being black. So I'm just letting you know, this is really about you all. This is you all's battle to fight, not mine. You all are the majority of, other foreigners here. So when people complain about Americans, they ain't talking about me, they talking about your white ass. But anyway, back on subject. Yeah, it's like, that would be foolish. Likewise, there's people that are foreigners that do that crap too. You have a bad experience with an American, or you see somebody who you think is American, which I find very funny too, because like, you don't know where people are from. You're assuming based on stereotypes. For example, if you see somebody that's fat, or if you see somebody that's speaking English, or somebody that mentions the US, you assume, oh, it was an American. Well, I can tell you firsthand, I cannot tell who somebody is, where somebody's from, normally until I hear them talk for a long time, or if I actually become friends with them and speak to them myself. For example, I've worked with people and I just knew that they were an American. It's like, nope, I'm actually from Canada, or nope, I'm actually from Germany. It's like, how do you learn how to speak English so well? Not the Canadians, but the German person. And like for Canadians, like their English is pretty much identical. Very few differences between American English and Canadian English. And so with that said, you're making an assumption. You don't know who you saw, who you were talking to. You're assuming that's what they are. But people will see somebody who they think is something, they'll just go on speaking on it like facts. People make up stories about what they saw just to cause arguments and fights, just to throw more misinformation out there. So I'm pointing all this because I'm not going to make a whole video about that topic. Well, I've already done that before and I'll probably make more later, but not going to talk about it right now. Sorry to break it to you, but that's racist thinking. The mindset that everybody breaks the rules is not true. And also, even if everybody did, that doesn't take away what I said. It would be wrong to mistreat you based off of what other people do. As a child, if you have other siblings. Now, some of y'all have parents that were like this, but it will be considered as wrong, though. It doesn't change the fact that it's still wrong. It will be unfair if you got a whooping because your other siblings were acting bad and you were the only one that was good. So because they misbehave, you should be punished for what they did? How is that fair? Now, it's the one thing if you encourage them or told them to do something wrong. You're the mastermind, that's different. But if you did the right thing, you shouldn't get a punishment. If anything, you should be rewarded for it. Okay, well, likewise, it's not fair for me to not be allowed to go certain places because other people have allegedly not followed the rules. It's also unfair to assume that we cannot follow the rules based off of the fact that you've seen other people not do something or you heard about other people not doing something. And I made a whole video that actually, talks about all this too. And it's like, a lot of people are lying, telling you that they've seen foreigners do this. No, you haven't. You saw something on Twitter. You did not see that in real life. Your experiences of people breaking the rules and being bad is very minimal, if non-existent. If not non-existent. People will see one thing and they'll go on to tell the story like they saw it with their own two eyes. And it's like a game of telephone, or as the Australians say, Chinese whispers. Yikes, now that's racist. And so it's like they'll tell you something, and then by the time it gets to you, it's been told 50 different ways. They exaggerated the hell out of it. And in fact, the best example of that was, I'll never forget, earlier this year, was it this year? I think it was this year, back in May, when that white guy, I think he was from the UK or something, I don't know. He was married to a Japanese woman. And yeah, I think it was a British guy, because thank God, because they love ripping Americans a new one. He apparently did something that was rude and breaking some rule at some shrine or temple or something. And people started pulling up this old video from I think, was it a year ago or almost a year ago, showing this guy violently yanking the bell thing and playing around with it like it was a toy at the shrine. And they were basically trying to say that that was that guy. And the post went viral. I think it already went viral back then, but it went viral again. And that wasn't even the guy. That wasn't what happened. But again, because people already don't like foreigners, you're looking for them to do something wrong. Even although common sense would have told you this is a fake ass post. That's not him. Yes, what this person's doing is wrong too. But I've seen other Japanese people do similar and or worse things. And you get what I'm trying to say. Because people like the drama, it went viral. And because y'all weebs love to defend Japan, and of course the Japanese won't tell you when they know something's wrong. Anything that makes their country look good, they gonna support it. And sure enough, it was dated, and it wasn't even close to this. It wasn't even the same year. That video was from 2023 or 2022 at that time. But again, people wanted to see foreigners, especially English speaking ones and particularly Americans, get a new one ripped for them. Some people didn't even realize that the guy was British. The assumption is English speaker does something bad, must be an American. And again, it's funny how you see the opposite. Now, if somebody tries to say something bad about Japan, including myself, you have to have 50 different people as witnesses. 5 Japanese people have to sign off on it. You need to have 3 different translations of it, 10 different videos from 10 different angles. You need to have, the original video footage from the surveillance cameras. Like, nothing that you say is good enough if it's ever negative about them. Then with these 50 different excuses. Oh, Taro was really tired because he had a long day at work. Or, oh, Sachiko, she had to do whatever. Like, it's always going to be an excuse because it's them. But for us, we don't get passes or mercy. Nobody says, hey, maybe they're talking on the bus or train because they're lost and they're trying to make sure that everybody gets off the train at the same time. Maybe that's why they're yelling at each other across the train cars. Maybe they don't even have, pocket Wi-Fi for everybody, so that's not an option. Or, SIM cards or whatever, eSIMs. Nope, no pass. But when Sachiko and Taro want to be loud and obnoxious on the train, oh, they're just old friends, meeting up together. They're having a good time. There's always excuses that are going to be made for them. You're not bothered by the rule being broken. You're bothered by who's breaking the rule. And I think I made a video about that already. Again, hasn't been edited yet. But I just get so irritated about it. Because again, I'm going to play devil's advocate for you. I have videos that I haven't even published yet, which I do agree. Yes, I see foreigners do stuff wrong, and it does frustrate me. I made a video complaining about how I went to this hotel, and it seemed like literally every foreigner that came in was doing something that was inappropriate. I ain't gonna lie, I've seen moments like that before, but I had to take a step back and ask myself, how many times do I see Japanese people doing similar stuff? How many more experiences have I had with them breaking the rules than with foreigners? Am I that bothered like I am right now? Kind of, but was I that bothered? No. I can let it go. I can also tell myself that even although what they were doing was disgusting and rude and nasty, at least they're a foreigner. What's your excuse as a Japanese person? You know the rules. You've lived them your whole life. You can read the rules. You can hear the rules and comprehend it. The same cannot be said for tourists. Not to mention, I think people need to also understand this too. The rules change depending on who you are talking to and where you go. And forget about who you're talking to, where you go. In one place, you're supposed to do this. Another place, you're not. If I went based off of YouTube, I would be thinking that every restaurant you go into, you got to take your shoes off. Because I'm not going to lie, I expected to be taking off my shoes a lot more in public than I actually did upon living. That's another video I need to make. I can count how many times. Can I actually count? Maybe I can't count, but I have not gone to many restaurants where I needed to remove my shoes, both the low end and high end. It's not a very common occurrence. Same thing goes for, things like sushi. Something that you might not know, sushi is kind of a backwards food. The more expensive the sushi is, the less, utensils are going to be used. Whereas cheap sushi, you use chopsticks. Expensive sushi, you use your fingers. Well, if you just watch YouTube, you'll think you're eating sushi the wrong way. You're supposed to use your hands. No, you're not. If you go on a sushi or whatever and you start eating that shit with your hands, you can do it, but you're probably going to be the only one. Or it's not going to be a weird thing, but people use their chopsticks. So, it's so much mixed information. Look, just like how people say, oh, it's rude to hand people their money. No, it's not. It's just that they see it as more convenient because you can see the money you put down. The cashier can see it. They can count it more easily. It just makes sense. It's not because it's rude. Now, back in the day, possibly. But now, no, nobody views it that way. Also, the whole super toilet whatever type thing. The average Japanese person, I would argue nowadays, if you have a newer place, you have one. All newer places have one. But if you have an older place or like a house, it's very common to still use a regular toilet. Not to mention, people don't normally use bidets in public because they're dirty. And there's actually posts online about that if you actually can read Japanese. In fact, I don't know, but yeah, if you use Google Chrome, you can translate sites and whatnot and read what they have to say about that type of stuff. So anyway, I can talk about that forever. My point is this. Foreigners do not break the rules any more than Japanese people do. And when they do, it is normally done out of innocence and ignorance rather than purposefully doing things wrong. And it's also very dumb because the same people being impatient and frustrated with them for not knowing the rules or breaking them, you want mercy and grace when you go abroad too, if you can even get your pockets up to do it. So, And again, while you may be the armchair expert, normal people have jobs. And people with jobs don't spend their whole life watching YouTube every waking moment of their life. It's easy to do this when you're a teenager and you're 15, 16 years old, and looking at videos on Japan is a full-time job for your 30-year-old ass in mommy's basement. But for other people, for working adults, you don't have all day to do nothing but binge watch every manner video, every do this, don't do that video, read every blog. It's not possible. Heck, I've been living here for nearly 10 years and I still learn something new at least once a year. I'm like, how was I living here this long and I didn't know that shit? And rules also change over time too. But anyway, let me go back to your actual comment. Because I'm going off on a tangent now. But when do I not do that? Okay. But yeah, I just want to comment on that one more time. Being a victim is not an insult. Or maybe you see being a victim as something that angers you because you don't like the idea of people looking at, because that seems to bother white people too. I don't know if you're white, but I'm guessing that you might be. A lot of them get mad at the idea of black people being a victim because I guess you want to be one, and I think it makes you feel more bad about being the abuser in the scenario. I don't know, because you don't like the idea of your ancestors being called out for what the fuck they were, which, to be honest, we don't call that out enough. We just call it slavery and gloss over it. Your ancestors were pedophiles and arpists. We don't talk about that part enough. But that's another story. What they did was torture and disgusting. And all them hoes in hell. But that's another story. So, yeah, whether you like it or not, we can't rewrite history or what's currently happening right now. If I push you, whether you believe you're stronger than me and capable of hurting me more than I hurt you, you are now my victim. I bully you. Okay. If I do something that's racist towards an Asian person, what I did would be bullying them, all right? That bullying and racism are one and the same. If somebody's being racist towards you, they are bullying you. Racism is an act of bullying. Okay? So, whether you like it or not, and using other little fancy words, you do realize that prejudice is the same as racist and so is xenophobic. So, you can call it whatever you want. It's all one and the same. If it makes you feel better to say, it's not race, I don't like using racist, I like calling it prejudice. Oh, okay. Well, it's the same damn thing. So, if you want to lie to yourself, go ahead. It's like saying, I'm not fat, I'm fluffy. Well, last time I checked, fluffy ain't skinny either, bitch. It's still fat. But alright. This comment was respectful, so let me be respectful to you. Excuse my language. But I won't necessarily say respectful. It's a little sarcastic in here, but mostly respectful. So they said, I like to say prone to prejudice due to past actions by the majority. And again, I want to talk about this too. I was talking to my mom about this the other day. I understand the whole idea of it's based off of past experiences. But this is about Japan, but I gotta use, as a black person, I have to say this. When do we get that pass? Because, see, the cycle would never end. If we're going to talk about prone to prejudice based on past experiences, we have the most understanding reason to be prejudiced towards everyone. Asians treated me bad my whole life growing up. I made a video about this, if I recall, recently. So do I now have the right to, treat them like shit when I go to their country or walk into their house or come across them outside of their little Chinese restaurants? Do I get to treat Koreans like shit? Do I get to treat, what do they call people from Hong Kong? Do I get to treat y'all like trash? No. Because you are not those people. Now, granted, if I want to go based off of what you're saying, the majority of my experiences have been this. And sure, I can argue, if the majority are this way, you likely are like them too, right? Or I can just use my brain, be an adult, and say, okay, well, while most people have done this to me, you might not be most people. The worst thing that can happen is you're a jerk like the rest of them. I'm not telling you to walk up to gangbangers and say, well, hey, just because you're sagging your pants and you're walking around with a group of people and everybody's wearing blue around you, that doesn't mean that you're a Crip. I'm not telling you to do dumb shit like that. We're simply talking about human decency, giving people a chance to show you who they are. If I ain't done shit to you, you should treat me respectfully like how you do everybody else. It's that simple. Also, in this case, when you're talking about being in a country where you're different from everybody else, and the assumption is you are not like everybody else because you're not from there, I would have a little bit of grace and consider maybe they're not following the rules because they don't know them. Just a thought. And again, as I said this before inside another video, which you'll probably see this later, I don't know which you'll see first, ask yourself, when you see a Japanese person breaking the rules, whether you're a Japanese or a foreigner yourself, how many times do you intervene and remind that Japanese person of the rule that they're breaking? You never do it, do you? So if you're not going to tell the Japanese person, hey, don't break this rule, maybe shh when you see a foreigner doing it too. Because maybe two things. One, that person doesn't care. Or two, they just didn't know that was a rule. Because even as a Japanese person, if you're from a different prefecture, you might not know there's a different way of doing things. I remember when I first came to Japan, my original Japan dad, Tatsuya, he was from Osaka, and he would commonly walk on the opposite side. He would walk on the right side all the time. And here I hadn't even been there. Was I even there? I think I was there for 2.5 or 3 months at that point. I finally got the boss telling him, I was like, why do you always walk on the wrong sides? Like, I could tell that you're from Osaka. Because I think it was after he said that he was from Osaka, I told him that. And so he was like, oh, I never even noticed. Go figure. Here he is. He's Japanese. He has he was 13, 12 years older than me. And he didn't know any better. Now, granted, he had to have known there was a difference. But maybe it didn't cross his mind while he was in Tokyo. I'm sure he heard about it and read about it, but it didn't cross his mind. He's not a bad person. I don't believe he was intentionally breaking the rules. He simply didn't know. Okay. Now you see how that becomes a cute, Japan story? But now if I say this about an American, for some reason you all would get more upset over a foreigner not knowing the rules than somebody that was born and raised in Japan. Okay, Osaka is just a couple of hours away. I live 17 hours away. So how is that fair? I'm expected to know everything that you learned over the course of your 30 plus years of life. But here my 20-year-old self is, I was expected to know all the rules after only having set foot in Japan a couple of months ago. And the average tourist that you're seeing here is only going to be here for a week or two. And it's brand new, first time ever visiting Japan. Isn't that a little bit unfair to have those expectations on them? But whatever. Anyway, back to what they said. I like to say prone to prejudice due to past actions by the majority. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. We're not down. So yeah, like I was saying, if that's the case, then, even slavery. Well, most of our interactions with white people were negative. Should black people treat all of you all like crap then, based off of how you all normally act? Should we treat Asians poorly and white people poorly? Or should we view you as individuals? Because sure, look at my comment section. If I were to go based off of past interactions, I shouldn't allow any of you all to leave comments on my channel at all. But if I did that, look back to my videos that I've done recently, just talking about the experience being in my basket. I would have never gotten that comment from, I think it was a German guy or some European guy, a couple of them actually, giving me their experiences dealing with racism themselves. I would have missed out on that valuable insight. Because if I had the mindset of, well, look at all of these racist a-holes and trolls that are white men, I would have never got the chance to hear these white men tell me that they support and agree with me. I'm just saying. So anyway, my point is this. It's foolish to decide, well, most black people that I talk to treat me like this, so now I'm going to treat all black people that I meet like that. Likewise, it would be foolish as a Japanese person to say, well, most of the foreigners that I see, they've broken the rules, so now, even though I haven't seen you break any rule, I'm going to treat you as though you already did it in advance. And an easy way to tell you whether this is right or wrong, ask yourself, would you want somebody to treat you that way? The answer will be no. Would you want somebody to treat your children or your spouse that way? Your mother or father that way? The answer will be no. Okay, golden rule applies. Treat people the way you want to be treated. If I'm not treating you like trash, don't treat me like trash either. If you didn't see me break a rule, don't treat me like I already have. You didn't even give me the chance to. Not to mention, you do realize if you treat people like trash on the basis that they don't respect your country, your culture, whatever, or on the assumption that they are a bad person, wouldn't you just be motivating them to be a bad person? I mean, think about it. If your parents said to you, you're a bad little boy, you're a horrible girl, you're such a horrible, evil, how would that motivate you to be a good person suddenly? That would just encourage you. Well, I didn't do shit wrong, but you already calling me bad, so I might as well live up to it. Okay, we're doing the exact same thing. If you are constantly telling people you're bad, you're dirty, you don't follow rules, just saying, I'm just gonna give up. Cause what's the purpose of me doing it if I'm trying to follow them? I didn't even get a chance to show you what I can or cannot do, and you already decided for me. Okay, I kind of already said this, but I also want to further explain to you that a big problem with doing this is that you don't encourage people to want to follow the rules. I mean, think about it. You're following the rules, but because other people don't, you're being punished anyway, and you rule following goes unnoticed. I'll never forget my last day of living inside of the company apartment I was renting in Osaka, and they had no idea I was actually moving to the nicer other side of town, going to be moving to, I think it was Nishiku or whatever. And for the first time, I've had crazy people follow me, talk to me. I had a racist guy like harass me. And I just pretended to not hear him. I hadn't headphones, so I was walking fast. But he was like, cursing me out and complaining about foreigners. And I just kept walking, had him looking stupid. This is in a big, busy, crowded place. And of course, the usual, let's not get involved, cowardly Japanese did nothing. But I couldn't help but think to myself, this man has never seen me do anything wrong. I'm literally working a job, being underpaid to help your people learn how to speak my language, to help them have a more, internationalized mindset, help them to be able to get better jobs, to study abroad themselves, to travel abroad, do things that most Japanese people could only dream of doing. And you're harassing me and acting like an asshole. I don't do anything wrong to you or to this area. In fact, I'm not responsible for the gangs here. I'm not responsible for the dirt and the stealing. I don't do any of that type of stuff. But oh yes, please tell me more. Go off on your rant and complaining about my presence being there as if I am every negative and bad foreigner. And again, it really pains me when I see foreigners doing this too, because you should know better than anyone. Just as you want to be seen as one of the good guys, how do you think the vast majority of foreigners want to be seen too? Because most of us here most certainly are not running around mindlessly breaking rules. And the rules that people do break, that people get mad over, are dumb shits where you're just telling on yourself that you're fucking racist. If the idea of somebody talking pisses you off so much that you decide that you hate an entire group of people, you can't rent to them, they can't enter an establishment, let's just keep it real. You're racist. Okay, like that's your little cover. You're a scapegoat. But you're just fucking racist. No intelligent person would take that, extreme of an approach. Okay, maybe they don't understand or know the rules. In fact, I have a video that I don't know if I recorded on this already, but I'm going to talk about it right now. I just got through coming back from Hawaii, right? And you want to know what I found very interesting? When I was on my flight, I paid for a seat that had extra leg room, right? The whole flight, I had Japanese people walking through the aisle where my seat was because they realized there was extra leg room and it allowed them to use a bathroom that was available. There was literally a sign posted that said, do not cross this area except for in emergencies. Do you know that almost everybody that needed to go to the bathroom, anytime that the other bathroom was full to the right side, they would cross over me. In fact, I had some people that they didn't say anything, but I could tell that they probably were thinking it or wanted to think, why is this asshole bitch got her legs, pulled out? Like, at least move your legs to make it easy for me so I don't trip on this plane. And I'm thinking, no, I paid for extra leg room. At first, I was constantly moving my legs back and forth, but no, I want to be able to sleep. I'm pregnant. I want to be able to relax. I'm not doing that shit. And in their mind, they're probably, still to this day thinking I was just some asshole black bitch. But really, I'm thinking, no, like, you're just being, like, I'm not going to say it because it's going to be racist, but you know what I mean. There was literally a sign posted, and at first, the flight attendant, who was Japanese, at first, they were telling people to not, cross there, and they were pointing to the sign. But not everybody saw them, only a couple of people did. And then, of course, like, okay, if you just let people keep doing it afterwards. And I thought to be, a Karen asshole and say to them, hey, can you make them stop doing this? But I was like, nah, I'm not going to stoop down to the Japanese level. I'm just going to use this as a really good story to tell on YouTube. And here we are today. I'm going to make a video about that later. But it just blew my mind. It's like, this is a prime example of the double standard. See, when they break the rule, they get away with it. Now notice, I didn't walk away from that and feeling any less of them than I already probably do. I understood, okay, they likely didn't see the sign. They likely don't speak, read, write, whatever English. Give them a pass. I wouldn't be thinking to look up at that wall either. And it's not like it was a red sign. It was written in like purple or some shit to fit the theme of the aircraft. So anyway, notice how when it comes to getting on trains and buses in Japan, even although the signs are not up in writing about every little rule, there are people, in fact, the majority of people will get pissed off at you for not knowing all of them because the rules do not just stop at the extent of, don't talk. I mean, let's just keep it real. You are allowed to talk on the train. The only rule that technically does exist is they ask you to, keep your voices down and to not have like, your phone, like the ringer on, but being realistic, okay, but don't you see them doing that too? Because I don't know how many times, but I've lost count of how many times I've been on the bus or train and they're talking to their friend, family, and I'm not just talking about kids, but I mean like grown people talking to each other loudly, drunk people vomiting. I've even seen people smoking. Like, I've seen it all. And it's not a one-off scenario. Not to mention, again, let's just keep it real. Did it ever cross your mind that just as you didn't read that sign on that plane, not every foreigner getting on the train is reading the signs there? And we should also add, like I said before, not everyone binge watches YouTube content. And of course, also if you're older, these things didn't even exist. It used to be where you went to a country after watching some TV shows and reading a few travel guidebooks. That's how it went. Not to mention, people think just because you make a YouTube channel that you are now an expert. I cannot tell you how many videos I've watched on things that are simply not true about Japan, including the infamous, don't put money in people's hands, it's rude, or don't tip, it's insulting. None of those things are true. It's just not customary. And the money in the hands thing, that depends. Actually, a lot of people prefer it to be placed in their hands, but it's just the way they've always done it, using a tray. It's not insulting to them. In fact, to be honest, a lot of them just don't want to have to touch your hand because you're a foreigner. But we ain't finna talk about that for today's video. So, again, like this is a much deeper topic. I'll make other videos on this, and I think I might have already recorded one on both of these things. But I just want to throw that out there too. It's like, we give them grace that they don't give us. But if we break a rule, all of us get to be labeled as bad. Do I get to label all of them as rule breakers and bad and rude and dirty and not thinking? I mean, like, just think about it. If I paid the extra money for that damn seat, you shouldn't even need a sign. Obviously, I don't want 600 people crossing in front of me while I'm trying to sleep. That should just be common sense. But do the Japanese use common sense? Well, according to what I just saw, I guess not. See how it's not fun when the shoe is on the other foot? Now what I just said is racist and insulting, and how dare I say such a thing? But whatever. Anyway, all I want to say is this. You have to give people an incentive and a reason to want to do good. If I know I'm going to be punished whether I do good or bad, I won't speak for everyone. I won't even necessarily say for myself entirely because I still try to do the right thing. But a lot of people, if not most people, will give up. What is the purpose in doing the right thing if you're going to be punished regardless of what you do? If you're going to see me as a bad person, whether I do something bad or not, well then fuck it, I might as well just be a bad person. Think about it. The reason why I'm speaking from a Christian perspective. Sorry guys, accidentally messed up the audio. I have no idea where the microphone is on this laptop. But anyway, long story short, I just wanted to explain to you that, yeah, I was saying like, it doesn't matter whether you're religious or not. I'm speaking from a Christian perspective for myself. Have fun in hell if you're not. I'm speaking on myself, and many other people also have the same religion as me or some sort of religion they follow. And a big part of it is basically the incentive that you know that you are going to go to heaven. Excuse the noisy plane. But anyway, if you have no incentive to do the right thing, most people would stop. The reason why we do good is we want good things to happen to us. And also, of course, we want to feel good too. It feels good to do the right thing, to treat people well. And so if you're treating people badly on the basis of what you believe they are, even if they are not that, well now, me as a good person, now you've given me no incentive to want to be good. I might as well be bad if I'm going to get treated like I'm bad anyway. Because let's face it, while being bad is wrong, it can also be a lot of fun too. Let's keep it real. Stealing would be fun. You want something, you just grab it. You got to work hours to pay it off. Somebody makes you, I don't know, you get on the bus or train and you have a phone call that you want to take. Why should I get off the train and wait another 10, 15 minutes when I can stay on board and talk right now? What if it is an emergency? You see what I'm saying? There's no reason for me to get off the train if you're going to treat me bad anyway. So if anything, you're just reinforcing and encouraging people to break the rules rather than to follow them. Because we know no matter what we do, you're going to treat us badly anyway. Now, don't twist my words. I'm not saying that I purposefully break rules, and I'm not encouraging you to do it. I'm just saying that they're creating more of the problem that they claim to hate by treating people as though they are criminals or bad people based on the fact that they're a foreigner alone. And these same people don't like the idea of being treated that way either. When that whole situation was going on, I talked with this before during the pandemic, they did not like being lumped together with the Chinese, which is wrong towards them too. But again, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard for me to feel sorry for you because look at how they treated us during the Ebola outbreak. And look at how they treated us as, blacks and Africans, whatever, in China when the pandemic was going on. And they're not even the ones that started or spreaded that crap. It was the Chinese. Look at how we took the blame for it. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it's the same thing here in Japan. Instead of people realizing this disease was started and spread by you all, Asians, for them, it made more sense, let's blame all of the foreigners here. Because technically it did come from outside this country. No. Keep that same energy. You all blamed black people no matter where they came from. The Caribbean, from various African countries, from the US, from Canada, from Europe. If you were black, you had Ebola, right? So then why can't we have that same thing with Asians? With the pandemic? I'm just saying. I'm not supporting it, but I'm trying to help you all understand how stupid that mindset is. See how we could all get upset and be like, hey, that's not right. That's not fair. That would be racist. Okay, then what do you think that is in reverse? We didn't get no sympathy. We had nothing but jokes being made. I'm just saying. It's always just so crazy and weebish to me to hear people talk about that as though foreigners are not only the only ones that break rules, but as though we break them way more than the Japanese do, because that most certainly is not true. In fact, foreigners commonly do weird stuff here. I mean, doing things like, bowing when they're not supposed to, bowing too deeply, overthinking people, being super careful and putting everything back super nice and neat and giving up their seat. I mean, they do shit that the Japanese don't do themselves. So the irony and them being stereotyped as being rule breakers and bad and loud and dirty and rude is just ridiculous, especially when I consider the foreigners to get blamed the most. Because ironically, look, I'm not telling you all to pass the blame to any other group. But just hear me out. I find it funny how it seems that Americans, when it comes to the non-Asian foreigners in particular, we seem to take the biggest hit when it comes to critique and criticism. But I'm not going to lie, I see a lot of people from the Middle East, from Europe, and even from other Asian countries breaking rules or, doing dirty, nasty, stinky stuff, arguably way more than I ever see Americans. Not to mention, I would love to hear a Japanese person tell me, how do you tell the difference between a Canadian and an American? Do you look for either a hamburger, a bottle of maple syrup, or some shit? Because I can't even tell us apart. So, anyway, it just blows my mind seeing people regurgitate, that Japanese anti-foreigner propaganda and whatnot. Anybody with a brain knows, not even half, not even a quarter, not even 10%, not even 5% of the foreigners that you see here at any given time have broken a single rule here. And again, the rules that are being broken are normally small, stupid things that should make no difference in your day. Like somebody walking the wrong direction, or, somebody talking where they're not supposed to be talking. Innocent rules that people generally just didn't know any better, didn't see that sign. Just like the Japanese people on my flight that kept walking past, over my legs and interrupting my sleep, not realizing there's a sign up telling you don't cross this section except for in the event of an emergency. You are supposed to use the toilet on your side of the plane. Somebody's in it, you're supposed to wait. You don't want to have that situation, want to be able to choose which side, pay for the upgraded seat. Not my problem. It didn't even cross their minds, maybe if I paid all this money, I don't want you walking over me. Now again, they would not give that same mercy to me. They would think to themselves, like I said before, rude, bad, American. It should be common sense, even if you don't read Japanese. The same shit that they say to us, that even if you don't, speak or read Japanese, you should know all of the rules, and it should just be common sense to you. Well, like I said, apparently common sense ain't that common anymore. I said this already, but anyway, Yes, like that mentality is dumb. You know, as a foreigner yourself, the majority of people here that you see are not breaking rules. And again, if you're prejudiced, you will look for rules. If you are that bothered by somebody speaking English or talking in any language on the train for 5 minutes that it makes you so upset, then take your ass off the train then or go to another train car. You'll live. I find it funny how I don't see that same reaction when I see Sachiko and Taro accept phone calls or laughing and joking and, that fake annoying Japanese salaryman laugh that you hear. Like, I don't see that reaction. So I think you're just telling on yourself. You sound pretty prejudiced to me. And again, don't get me wrong, I do hate when people break the rules. I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth. I'm not encouraging people to break rules. Do not twist my words. But I am saying, if it makes you react that crazily and to the point where you've convinced yourself that foreigners deserve the racism that they receive, or, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, the xenophobia. Oh, wait, we can't say that anymore. Remember, guys, back in May, they told us they're not xenophobic or racist. I literally, I wish that I could have done a live stream reaction to that news breaking because I've been talking about this for years and they finally did. They finally did it. They said that they weren't even xenophobic, the word that y'all love to use, which FYI white people and we black people, it literally is a synonym for racist. It's like saying, well, actually, I'm not, I'm not fat. I'm just overweight. That is fat, you dumb bitch. Okay, well, likewise, saying that somebody's not racist but they're xenophobic, it is the same thing. Somebody else left a comment saying that the word used to classify matters. No, it does not. It is the same damn thing. It's like saying, well, I said that you were cute. I didn't say you were pretty. Okay, I mean, depending on who you talk to, actually, some people would say that cute is a higher form of being pretty. Like, do you hear yourself? You can give whatever you want the value that you want to give it, but they're synonyms for each other. Actually, in order to be racist, you have to be xenophobic. It literally requires you to basically have some form of ignorant based fear. The reason why, sorry guys, my stomach, the reason why you feel as though you are superior or better than, whatever group of people is typically due to ignorance. The reason why you think that all foreigners are breaking rules is due to ignorance. You'd have to be a dumbass to actually believe that the majority of people that are visiting your country are purposefully or even accidentally breaking the rules. Likewise, I would also have to be an idiot to believe the majority of Japanese people that visit the US are running around R-ing people and recording secret AVs in shower rooms, etc. I know that that's not everybody or most people. Now, just as I'm smart enough to recognize that, why are the Japanese not smart enough to recognize that? And again, don't get me wrong. See, I'm smart enough. I know it ain't all of them, but it sure is a hell of a lot of them. And again, like I said, I understand these are individuals. Does Japan have some issues with some of these things? Sure. I know this all too well as a black person myself. My community has issues that it needs to deal with and resolve. However, I'm smart enough to realize I don't have to treat everybody badly, even if the majority of my experiences are negative. But my thing with this is, most of you all's experience are not negative. That's the problem. It's not even like the average foreigner is actually doing that. So if that's the case, then fine. I still wouldn't support it, but at least it makes a little more sense. But that's not true. It ain't even 5% of us doing this shit. They literally search for things that you do wrong so they can justify their racism. And you idiots are preaching this stuff too. And it's like, you are literally making the problem worse. And they don't view you as being separate. They don't care how well you speak Japanese. Not to mention, I made a video on this. Gotta edit it and talk about that later. But if you have to speak a language, I mean, that's literally like, moving the goalposts in order for somebody to not be prejudiced towards you. No, you just befriended a racist. It's like, for example, Klansmen. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was this video of this guy that went to the most racist city in the U.S. and he pretended to be working with some organization that was trying to make the Klan look good, or whatnot. It's like the guy was being nice to him. You actually wouldn't have really realized that he was prejudiced, other than a few little quirks that he did. But he let him even enter their little church and whatnot and take video. And they didn't normally do things like that. Surprised that man made it out alive. That was very dangerous to do. But anyway, okay, so you could walk away from that and say, see, the Klansmen aren't racist. He wouldn't have let him do X, Y, and Z. He wouldn't have let him record or film that. They're just trying to, preserve white culture. They don't hate black people. You can walk away and be a dumbass and think that, right? Or you could recognize it took somebody having to be a part of a news organization and the deal that in exchange for letting my black ass come into your white space, that because you would get positive publicity and possibly brainwash more white people into joining your little club, you will allow me to enter. That is equivalent to what you all are doing. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen white people and Jamaicans, for some reason, y'all in particular, and try to defend this when person that's something to brag about. Again, don't get me wrong. You should learn the language for your own benefit. But you not being able to speak it does not justify being prejudiced. In fact, I'll share one last little story and I'll end it at this. I recently went back to the US, and when I went to the DMV to go get my driving permit, I couldn't help but notice how nice and respectful the Hispanic and the Latino men that I saw were. Many of them did not speak English fluently. They seemed to have known very little, but they were very, very nice, just using, the absolute best manners. And all I could do was think, and don't get me wrong, yes, I know that they're not everybody, but do you see what I'm talking about? All I could do is think to myself, y'all want me to believe that everybody trying to, cross the board. I'm not saying that it's right. Just hear me out, okay? That they're all criminals and arpists and these bad guys. No, many of them are just trying to make a better life for themselves. They want to get out of poverty. They're tired of being paid the lousy 5, 10 US dollars per day making your cars Americans. I'm just saying. That's another conversation. I don't support the idea of completely open borders and just let anybody. I understand the dangers of that. So hear me out. I'm balanced on this. But I'm just giving an example. People take it farther than just disagreeing with how politics are going. There are people that would treat Latinos bad just on the basis that you speak Spanish or on the fact that you don't speak English fluently, etc. I'm aware that the US has its issues too, okay? This channel is about Japan. But I'm just explaining to you, even although you're doing everything right, there's people that hate you and pretend like they don't see these people. As if every Latino man is some sort of cartel or some crap, like this is Breaking Bad or something. But that's another story. Please stop being stupid and recognize that while, yes, you may have seen people do things wrong, yes, you may have had bad experiences, I challenge you. Open your eyes and keep note. Act like that little snitch ass nigga from Recess. I forgot what his name was. The boy with the little curly hair and the Mr. Burns looking face. Act like him. Take your notepad out, and every time you see a Japanese person breaking a rule, being rude, littering, write it down. Keep tally. And I promise you, you will see way more of them by far than you will see foreigners doing this. But again, because you've already conditioned yourself and you've decided you are going to look for foreigners breaking the rules and doing wrong, you are going to see them doing it a lot more because you're prejudiced, you're racist yourself. You hate yourself, apparently. So you're searching for things that they do wrong. You're lying to yourself. It ain't half, most, some even. And let me also say this, I don't care if it is most of us. Unless you yourself did something wrong, you do not deserve to be treated poorly. And also, you deserve grace. Everyone has broken a rule. If you have a car, whether you're in Japan or in the US, you have sped before. Do you want them to always have a police officer assigned to you every day when you drive your car to make sure you are not speeding for the rest of your life now? Okay. You breaking a rule one time, doing something stupid or accidental does not mean you deserve to be punished for the rest of your life. Again, made a video briefly talking about this recently. I'm planning to make another one just on that topic. But doing something once or even multiple times, I don't care if you did it for years, that does not make you guilty for life or forever. And the issue is, most of the people getting blamed, they're on vacation. They're doing a 3-month, 6-month, 1-year study abroad. So is that fair for those people to be representative of people like me that have been living there for, 8, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years? That's not fair. So, anyway. Okay, so this is back to the original part that I recorded. As I already explained, I recorded the previous 12 minutes to try to fix the audio issue that I had with the other half of this because I accidentally, somehow covered the mic. Sorry, taking care of kids right now. Gotta handle business, trying to multitask. But anyway, enjoy the rest of the next 5 minutes, but just know the audio is really poor, so you might want to skip ahead about 5 minutes if you don't want to hear that. I'm basically saying the same thing again, but yeah, just letting you know. Like yourself, saying the same shit, just like you do realize they lump you together with them too. Just like I had that Jamaican girl, did I talk about that in this video? Might have been another one, who went on a whole tangent about white erasure. I'm like, you are a part of the problem. Your mother literally came to the UK, more than likely did some things to get there, and I ain't finna go there, but hey, I'm just saying, keeping it real. You are half white yourself, so you are a part of the problem with white erasure. Do you not realize, according to what you said, I don't believe in that BS. I'm just repeating what you said. You are being a hypocrite to what you said yourself. You are a part of the problem. Like, what? So anyway, I really would like, I would love to get inside you all's minds and understand who brainwashed you all and how did it work? Because for you to be able to open your mouth and say that when you are literally living in a first world developed country, thanks to the sacrifice that your mother basically made, and here you are, you're talking about how, white people are being erased. And then in this case, whether you're white, black, or whatever you are in my comment section, this person could left the comment that this video is about. You sitting over here and pretending like most foreigners basically break the rules and therefore they deserve what they experience because it's based off of Japanese people's personal experience. What have they experienced that make them, that justifies them treating us all bad? What? They have to listen to English for 5 seconds somewhere? Most of them have no experience dealing with a foreigner besides seeing them. That's it. You don't hear them. They're not disrupting your day. You don't serve them at your job. It's bull fucking shit. It's a lie. And again, that shows a lack of intelligence. So are you calling the Japanese stupid? If you're not smart enough to realize one person treating you bad does not mean all people that are similar to that are bad. It's like an incel mentality. So you're saying the Japanese are incels then? Because that's the way that they feel. They're mad that the women that they want don't want them. Thus now they hate all women because the women that they want don't want them. Stupid thinking. Okay, well, it's the same difference. You being mad that one foreigner or some foreigners that you saw broke a rule, do you have that same anger when you see Sachiko and Taro doing it? No, you do not. So don't pretend like you're so bothered by the rules. But shoot, you break rules yourself. Get the fuck out of here. So, whatever. I can go on rambling and rambling and ranting about this forever, but I just had to say that. You have to give people incentive to want to do good, be good, do the right thing, and not be bad. And that does not consist of constantly making videos and trying to label, oh, look at this American that did whatever. You're all lumped together. You're literally doing the devil's work for them. And I'm not talking from a religious perspective, I mean the Japanese perspective. When foreigners make videos exposing other foreigners breaking the rules, you're just helping reinforce stereotypes, ensuring that less people want to rent to you, less places will hire you, and more people will treat you like shit until you prove them wrong, which that should never be your job to do in the first place. Do y'all not realize how you all are literally helping the problem? And again, it's funny how there is no mercy when a foreigner breaks a rule, even although they were not born and raised there, more than likely do not speak the language, and more than likely is just on vacation. But I've never seen a Japanese person or a foreigner correct a fellow Japanese for breaking the rules. It just doesn't happen. They completely ignore you. I don't see them making videos and doxing people and saying that all Japanese men are bad or all Japanese women are. Nope. It's just seen as a one-off bad guy or, oh, this gang, whatever. Interesting. Very interesting. Also very interesting how we have, what was that girl? Sugar Baby, whatever. Chick was a Riri or whatever, which really sucks because that's my daughter's name. But the fact that they are allowed to do things like that, and nobody walk away from that feeling like, oh my god, Japanese women are horrible. They're all gold digging whores. Nope. She's seen as a one-off person. That's it. And it's like, look, I ain't finna start nothing, but I'm just saying, she ain't a one-off person. That's what a lot of girls are doing here, but okay. she went too far by sharing her game plan. I'll say that much. But anyway, it's funny how we don't label them all that way. That Japanese guy that went to that college in Canada and was filming girls taking showers in the locker room, whatever, we didn't walk away and feel like we can't trust any Japanese men because all of them are perverts and disgusting, whatever. Nope. We saw him as a one-off person. And I'm not even Canadian. But I don't hear them complaining about the guy. He was seen as a one-off person. The average Canadian licks the floor that the Japanese walks on and kisses their ass. They did not hold that against him. But God forbid you as an American or as a Chinese person, you do something wrong here. All of you all are guilty for life. All of you get stereotyped. You will heavily be insulted and talked about in the comment section, but you will not see that when they do the same crap in your respective home country. They break rules in the US just like how Americans break rules in Japan. It's really just that simple. But okay, let's get back to the video. So fuck it. I guess I might as well break them then. And this is why you have foreigners now saying, you're not Japanese anyway, you don't have to follow the rules. Well, you're creating the monster that you all claim you don't want. Do y'all not hear what you're saying? So, it's called positive reinforcement and encouragement. You want somebody to do good, you tell them positive things, positive affirmations. Sure, tourists and foreigners aren't babies, but you kind of got to treat them like it. They don't know everything. Likewise, when the Japanese go abroad, they want to be treated like babies because they don't understand or know everything. Shoot, get off the plane and see how they act in Hawaii. Stupid. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, where they're going. They can't order food for nothing. It was so weird going to Honolulu Airport, whatever they call that place, that Daniel, whatever weird name they named that white man airport. But it's such an unfitting name. I know that it has to be somebody special or whatnot, but it's like Daniel, whatever. Like they could have just kept it at Honolulu. But anyway, it was so weird going there and seeing the Japanese people prefer to use the little how can I put it? The places that have little kiosks where you could do a mobile order, and like when they would go up to the counter not knowing like how to read stuff and stuttering, it's like, now you guys finally see what it's like for us as foreigners in Japan, and you'll never truly get a taste of it because see, look, these menus, you can read it. They know how to read English letters. Even if they don't pronounce it correctly, they can tell what they're reading. As a foreigner, you can't even understand shit until you at least learn how to read one, if not two, of their alphabets, which is katakana, hiragana, and I think both of those have more characters than the English alphabet does, Romanji and whatnot. So, anyway, long story short, they'll never fully be able to understand because the other thing is, beyond just already having the ability to read our letters, they also grew up with English. We don't get to grow up with Japanese. You have to learn it in your own spare time. But back on subject. I already responded to this part, but this is where they said it. Unfortunately, the majority of foreigners are disrespectful and or ignorant, so they are prejudiced towards foreigners at first to brace themselves or protect themselves, essentially. What are you protecting yourself from? Somebody talking? Somebody laughing? A fat person's jelly roll leaning on you a little bit on the train? God forbid. Oh my God, it's going to be the end of the world. Okay, sorry guys, I have to add this to it as well. The other dumb thing about this too, about they're protecting themselves, protecting their culture, they're bracing themselves from what? If anything, you acting funny towards me and being prejudiced towards me is going to make me aggressive. Do you hear what you're saying? That's the equivalent of saying, I bitch slap everybody that I meet to make sure they're not a bitch. Well, even if I wasn't one, now that you just put your hands on me, now you're about to get the bitch out of me. Now I'm going to act like one. Okay, well, granted, let's put this in the terms of what you just said. If you are going to treat me poorly until basically I prove that I'm a good person, most people aren't going to play that little game and dance around with you. You treat me like shit, I will treat you like shit right back. Now, it's not the right thing to do, and I'm not normally the one to do that. But I'm not going to lie, I've slipped out of character, and I've definitely stooped down to their level. Because trust me, when they go low, I know how to go lower, and I've done it before. But let me just let you know, everybody's not me. There are people that will do worse. And again, they're literally creating their own problem. If you want people to treat you well, you have to treat them well too. If you don't want to be judged collectively, don't judge other people collectively. It's truly just that simple. But the idea that they're bracing themselves from what? Somebody breaking a rule is not going to harm you. 9 times out of 10, it won't. Somebody talking where they're not supposed to is not going to injure you. Somebody throwing their gum wrapper on the ground or some shit. They don't even normally chew gum here, but you know what I mean. Those things do not interfere with you. It's something that's going to hurt you. That is a BS excuse. And I'm sorry, but that has nothing to do with culture. It seems to be some sort of buzzword with weeboos where everyone just says Japanese tradition, Japanese culture to blanket any problems. Oh, it's their culture. It's their tradition. And then don't even get me started on the racist to try to go into the problem with America is it's international and you can't have a mixed race culture like that. That leads to, they'll make a whole list of how essentially intelligence is for white people. And then when you mix cultures, you get these problems, which is very interesting too, because America still remains the most desirable and quote unquote richest country in the world. Rich people, even from other countries, whether they're from the Middle East, Europe, Asia, they all want to live in the U.S. Love them or hate them. Apparently, we doing something right. And I don't agree with everything being done there, but I just find it very interesting how this seems to be your scapegoat, but it makes zero sense. How is that something to brace yourself from. So you treat everybody poorly until they prove that they're good people? Huh? Do you hear yourself? That literally makes no sense. Like, you have to be an ignorant person. You cannot be intelligent and honestly say that and mean what you just said. They don't even want to follow that rule themselves. If you tell them, okay, I understand Japan, so when you come to my country in the US, I'm going to treat all of you all like shit until you prove to me that you're good people. They would not be okay with that. But anyway, back to the video. What's there to be protected from? And again, do the Japanese want people to treat them that way? Should we be, standoffish at first? Because according to what I see and read, especially before I came there, is all of them are perverts and, P words. So should I treat all of them bad? Should I say, I don't want my kids to go to school with Japanese students. I don't want to work at a place that has Japanese people in management. I don't want to get in a train with them, stand up and, be away from them because they might touch me. They might speak to me in Japanese. Would that be okay? Nope, you would disagree with that. So stop with that bullshit. And again, what exactly are they protecting themselves from? From what? What is the stereotype of foreigners? Because that actually would make sense for us to be protecting ourselves from them. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want somebody to be taking secret videos up my skirt and posting on Pornhub or something like that. That's not our stereotype, though. So what are they protecting themselves from? And meanwhile, I would have a real stereotype about them, what I just said. That would be something to protect myself, from. I should want to stay away from them because they might do these things to me, according to stereotypes. So please explain, what is the stereotype for foreigners that makes them have to brace themselves from us? What? Do you hear yourself? You gotta be white. You gotta be white, because that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I hope you're not black. And if you're black, white people, I'm sorry. But okay. Unless you are a victim of serious physical and any form will be a problem. Sorry, especially when dealing with strangers. But let's keep going. Of serious physical and verbal abuse, of course. I'm mostly talking about how they might avoid you, ignore you, or common things we deal with day to day. That would all still be wrong. Let me help you all understand, okay? Like, maybe you don't understand because you don't live here. It is one thing to pass through a country, all right? Or a place. But I'd even argue that that's problematic too, because you're giving them your money. Imagine living somewhere, and day in and day out, you are constantly having people avoid you, ignore you, treat you badly. You do realize that psychological abuse is still abuse, right? Imagine if every day everyone treated you like you had cooties. I don't care how tough and strong of a person you think you are. It will fuck with you psychologically. Let me help you out, since you might be a man and you might act a little stupid with me. All right? If your parents, Asians, sit this one out. But look, I ain't gonna lie, this might be part of the problem with some of y'all. If your parents never said they love you, they never showed you that they loved you, they didn't celebrate your accomplishments, what will that do to you psychologically? If you only ever get in trouble, you never get rewarded, you are never told I love you, you don't receive hugs, what does that do to a child? It destroys them. Okay. And you might not be a child, so let's use an adult example. Let's say every day at work, your boss berates you, gets on your ass. They don't notice any of your accomplishments, but the moment that you fuck something up, they embarrass and shame you and yell at you for it. What will that do to you? It will make you want to quit. It will anger you. It will upset you. Okay, well, maybe you can understand this, but if you're constantly taking the bus and train on a daily basis and people are constantly avoiding you, people are constantly standing far back away from you in line, people are constantly getting up when you sit down next to them, that hurts you emotionally. It mentally hurts. That's a form of abuse. No, I'm not saying somebody's abusing you in the same form of them punching or kicking you, but it feels the fucking same. Why do you think people choose to end their lives all the time? Everybody that ends their life was not literally being battered and beat up. It can literally be people teasing you and making fun of you at school, having a angry and violent situation at home, watching your parents fight and argue with each other. That messes with you too. It's still a form of abuse. It's hard on you. It's traumatizing towards you. That is the point. So sure, I'm not going to play the apples and oranges thing and, it's just as bad. No, they're two different things. They're both forms of abuse. But your mental health also matters too. And people treating you like you have cooties does affect your mental health. It does not feel good to have people avoiding you because of something that you cannot change about yourself. This is not the equivalent to somebody saying, I like pink, and everybody saying, ew, pink is a girl's color, and the boys getting it from the table. No, no, no. This is a matter of you being pink or something. And everybody saying, ew, don't sit next to him, he's pink, hee hee hee. Okay. Now, I'm assuming you're a white person, you have a little privilege over me in this area. Your life may be hard and bad. Well, imagine being a black person. Even for myself, I have privilege over the average black person. Because if you think I look funny, well, when you see somebody that has darker skin and kinkier hair, imagine what they go through. I've read posts on black women that have dark skin and afro hair talking about being laughed at. Just walking through the train station. I can't relate to that. I have privilege over them. I've never had that experience. I don't have to diminish it and be like, well, at least they didn't throw a rock at your head. The fuck? So, anyway. I've learned not to care about racism unless it impacts my finances or day-to-day life, so this topic doesn't necessarily trigger me. I mean, you'd have to leave your comment if it didn't, but also, at least you acknowledge that it doesn't trigger you. But again, if you are living somewhere, you should want to live in a place, or even visiting, you're giving them your tourist dollars. They don't get mistreated when they go abroad. We're just asking for the same thing that they get when they come to our country. That's all I'm asking for. We welcome the Japanese. And I'm not going to lie and say that every person does, and everyone treats them wonderfully. But I can assure you, we overwhelmingly do in comparison to how they treat us. That is my point. Also, you choosing to ignore being abused or bullied or treated badly does not change what I said. You being okay with abuse does not make it no longer abuse because you're okay with it. You being okay with racism does not make it no longer racism because you're okay with it. That's your choice, your prerogative. You're okay with that, okay. I'll give you props. At least you said me as in yourself, that you ignore it, you don't care. But I don't care that you ignore it. The problem at hand is this shouldn't be happening, period. I should not even have to have the conversation of, should I ignore this? That shouldn't even be a conversation to be had. I'm not stupid. I'm not asking for every Japanese person to treat me a certain way because that's unrealistic. There's always going to be bad actors, bad people. Likewise, you can't come to America and get treated well by everyone there. I know that. Shoot, I don't even get treated well everywhere here as a black person. I know that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the general perception, the general idea. We are way more accommodating, understanding, and accepting than they are. I'm not asking for them to roll out the red carpet and do crap like that. That's not what I'm asking for. I am literally just asking. Treat me the way that I'm treating you. Treat me like I'm human. We would literally be fighting over who's going to sit next to the Japanese person if they got on the train with us. They will literally openly mock, laugh, take photos of, and embarrass you, and talk shit about you right in front of your face. I can assure you we do not do that in America. They will use you for sex and justify it by saying, oh, I thought all foreigners like that. So when I see a Japanese girl on a train, if I was a white man or some shit, or a black man, a man period, do I get to say, well, I just want to fill up your skirt because I thought the Japanese girls like that? You see how crazy that would sound? Do you hear what I just said? That's what they literally are saying to us. and you guys are okay with that? Do you hear yourself? You can love Japan and you can be a weeb, but you have to turn that weebness down a little bit because you're getting a little bit crazy here, right? So it's funny how it's like when you talk about it from an American perspective, everything sounds crazy. But then when I twist it to let you realize they wouldn't be okay with this too, then y'all are crickets. I don't hear y'all responding back to that part of it. Because I've mentioned this before, how it's like, okay, when I talk about being mistreated here, I'm just an ugly American complaining, right? But if I tell you, okay, go to Japanese Twitter and read their bitching and complaining about their life in Canada and in the US, and suddenly y'all have no response to that part of it. It's not an American thing to do this. They complain too. They complain just like how we do. The difference is y'all can't understand Japanese. Y'all don't read and watch their shit. But they do the same thing. You all just don't respond to it. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of you all just don't like your home country. You don't like America, and or you're jealous of Americans. So you love the idea of the Japanese ripping us a new one. So, anyway, that was really all their comment. But I get what they're trying to say, I guess, kind of. But I had to adjust my camera. Sorry, you guys. My leg was getting tired. But yes, like, you being okay with racism does not make it no longer racism. And the idea that because you constantly have this experience, you now get to have your guard up and treat everybody poorly. Sorry, but actively avoiding being around somebody that you know ain't doing shit wrong is stupid. And that's not having your guard up. It's called being prejudiced. It's called being racist, which prejudice is literally a synonym for the word racist. If it makes your little racist ass feel better to say prejudice instead of racist, okay, have fun, just like xenophobic. So that's dumb. Again, we're not talking about, forgetting our common sense at home. I'm not telling you to walk up to Crips and whatnot and be like, well, I didn't want to treat everybody badly because just because you're in a gang doesn't mean you're not a good person. That's not what I'm saying. I am telling you, if I get on a bus or train, the fact that I have to be treated like I did something to you when I did not, that's unfair and it's hurtful. And they know that too. Sorry guys, my stomach is like digesting more food, but they know that's hurtful too. I made a video about this already, but like if we were to get on buses and trains and ignore them, they'd make whole videos about it. They complained during the pandemic about people treating them badly and avoiding them. It's funny how they get it when the shoe's on the other foot. They understand how it's unfair and wrong to treat all of them bad based on the fact that they're Asian, right? But when it comes to you, it's like, oh, well, deal with it. But see, when it comes to them, oh, it's not fair just because we're Asian. Or we're Japanese, we're not Chinese. Oh, so you don't like it when the shoe is on the other foot. And like I said, by that same standard, if we're going to justify prejudice, then I should be able to treat every Vietnamese, every Korean person, every Chinese person. Can I treat all of them like trash too? I mean, I could, but that would be stupid. Because while, sure, the vast majority of my experiences with them was negative in the US, I know that that is not indicative of everyone. And also, I don't care if it was most people. I don't know most Asian people in the US. And also, some of my favorite YouTubers are Asians. And they're American. I never met them in real life. But it would be stupid for me to say and think these things when I know that it's possible for me to meet and know people who are not bad because I've seen them. Maybe not with my own two eyes, but that's because my experience with them is limited. Maybe ask yourself too. Maybe the reason why I think that I don't like most people of this race is because my experience is limited with them. That's what I had to realize. Old racist rude people at a nail salon or I don't know, some see-through kitchen, whatever, does not represent every Asian person in the US. Likewise, the gangbangers and bank robbers or whatever that you saw do not represent every black person. I'm not asking you to invite me into your home. I'm asking you to not treat me like I have cooties. I'm asking you to accept my money and allow me to dine and eat at the same place that you do. Jim Crow type crap going on. That is a reasonable request. They would want the exact same thing. Imagine if they went to Hawaii, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, their favorite places, right? And we had signs up saying Americans only. And if they try to come in, tell them that the place is full, we don't allow them, it would hurt them. If we didn't sit next to them, if we said, we don't want you to speak Chinese to us, because just to let you know, not all foreigners speak English, and even the ones that do, it's not their first and or native language. That would be offensive to them. But they want us to just accept it. let it roll right off our backs, right? We're supposed to just brush it off. But they can't even do that. So why are you asking us to do something that they don't do? And while sure, I mean, you can't spend your whole life just crying about it, that's not the purpose in this. My channel is literally to bring light to these problems because nobody else is going to talk about them. Surely, of course, I am dealing with it and just moving on my life. Otherwise, I wouldn't be living in Japan anymore. I'm simply telling you. These are issues. Obviously, in order to function here, I've gotten used to it. Obviously, I don't decide every day, somebody that's next to me, I can't do anything today anymore. I have to go back home. Obviously, my life does go on just like how yours does. But the problem is, if everybody decides they're never going to talk about it, never going to do anything about it, okay, how can things get better if nobody wants to draw attention to it? Nobody wants to talk about it. It reminds me of like the comment that I got from those Filipinos. They're basically saying, oh, like, just ignore the problem because talking about it doesn't do anything. And since when has not talking about it fixed anything or changed anything? It does not. Instead of being so offended and upset over the idea of being called a racist, how about stop being racist? Or if you're not the one doing it, tell your people to stop doing it then. Very simple. But that will make way too much sense. See, everybody loves to be racist, but nobody wants other people to be racist towards them. See, the Japanese have fun when the ball's in their court, right? They can laugh at the foreigner jokes, etc. But when they got off that plane, they went to Hawaii. Suddenly, all of them were up against the wall, didn't know which line to go through, didn't know how to order food. It's like, oh, interesting. Saw them doing some rude shit, too. Brushing past without saying excuse me still. Oh, this shit going in real soon. So, spend a little more time in America. Now again, if we do that, then we're rude, we're disrespectful. But for them, where's the same energy? Are you going to tell them that they needed to have, watched 50 videos and bought 12 books and taken 10 years of English language courses so they could do this on their own and not have to use a dictionary and not have to use Google Translate? Anyway. And I also think there's a big difference between disrespectful or ignorant, because you did mention that they're ignorant of the rules. So I want to add that should be treated differently. Someone not knowing better and doing something wrong by mistake is very different from somebody knowing what to do and not doing it. The idea that you're going to treat me badly because I don't know something will be unfair, just like how you wouldn't do that with a child. I gave this example earlier, but it will be unfair for me as a mother to decide I'm going to punish my child because they didn't know. Don't, touch this glass. Because if you try to play with it like a toy, it will break. They don't know any better. Why? Because I didn't teach them any better. It's my fault. I failed as a mother because I didn't teach them some things break. They're fragile, so you have to be careful with it. Because I didn't explain that, it is my fault. Well, guess what? If you're a foreigner and somebody didn't tell you the rules and you broke them, is it fair for people to treat you badly because you didn't know something? Would you want your boss to do that to you? Think about your own life. If your boss didn't explain the rules to you, I don't know, whether it be how to use the printer or doing faxes or whatever the case is, and you got reprimanded for it, you'd be upset. You'd be like, well, nobody told me. It's my first day. Okay. Give that same grace and mercy to tourists too. A tourist not knowing the rule is very different from somebody knowing it and choosing to be disrespectful. And again, please list the rules that people are breaking in which bracing yourself is necessary. So you have to be an asshole and mean in advance because a foreigner might talk on the train? What? Am I allowed to do that for Sachiko and Taro too? Because you know how they are after work. They get on the train with their big salaryman groups, and you got the fake drunk, wannabe fly like a G6 girls that get on the train pretending to be sloppy drunk and fall over the place and laughing at every little damn thing that Taro says, try to kiss ass and brown nose their boss. Do I get to treat them like trash in advance because I'm pretty sure she's going to pass out and vomit all over the place? Do I get to treat them like trash because I know that they're going to get on the bus or train and start talking and eating and laughing and being annoying with that fake ass? Do I get to treat them badly based on that? Because I'm probably going to be right. If there's a group of them, they're more than likely going to start getting noisy. Do I get to treat them bad? Is that fair? Or can I be mature and decide, just because this person in their group was, being annoying or treating me badly, doesn't mean that everybody's going to do that. See, it's funny how we give passes to them, but it doesn't work in reverse, though. That sort of mindset and behavior will be considered as racist, or prejudice, as you wanted to call it, in the U.S. But we give it a pass, and it's understandable. I mean, technically, by definition, all prejudice is understandable. Literally, the idea of prejudice is essentially a matter of ignorance, a fear of the unknown, if you will, an assumption. That's literally what prejudice means. So, sure, if that's what you want to call it, sure. But you can't be intelligent in prejudice. You just can't. It is a form of ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in the good way. I mean it in the you're dumb type of way. Lack of intelligence type of way. Because if you're so stupid that you think, one brown person did this, so all brown people must be bad. That's dumb. You pick one apple at the grocery store and it has a worm in it, so now all apples are bad? You're never going to eat an apple again? All apples are bad for you and poisonous? Do you hear yourself? I mean, that could literally be said for anything in life. Restaurants, you go to a bad restaurant, so now all restaurants are bad. You have a bad waiter at a restaurant, so now all waiters are bad. So every time you go to a restaurant, you're going to be standoffish and fold your arms and be angry because there's a high chance this other waiter might be a jerk too and do a half-assed job because the last 3 waiters that you had, they were also jerks and did a half-assed job. Sure, I get why you want to think that way, but that's childish thinking. You can be a mature adult and decide, while I have had mostly bad experiences, everybody deserves fairness. You're an individual person. While this person might have treated me badly, or these people, you are a different person. And sure, you may fall into the stereotype and be just as shitty, if not worse, than the rest of them. But at least I gave you a fair chance to show me who you were. I may indeed be a sloppy, stinky foreigner. But there are people who you will literally sit next to them. They know you don't stink. They're sitting right next to you. But their reaction is, I have to move anyway. There's people that will stand right over you. And it's like, you do realize if I smell bad, you can smell me because you're standing over me. So the fact that you can't smell me lets you know it's safe for you to sit next to me. But they still won't, because see, it's not a matter of you smelling bad. They're just prejudiced. That's the word you want to use, right? Prejudice. It doesn't matter what you smell like. They just don't want to sit next to you because you're a foreigner. And what is prejudice a synonym with it? That's right, racist. You can't be racist without being prejudiced. So, the whole mindset is dumb. And again, if we were to have that mindset, then I should have nothing positive to say about the Japanese, because I'm going to keep it real with you. After being here for years and years, I don't know. It's starting to feel like it's more like 50-50. Yeah, you said that majority of my experiences have been positive with them, but I don't know, y'all. Recently, it seems more like it's a 60-40 situation going on. Maybe 60% positive, 40% negative. Do I treat them like trash, though? Nope. Because I know that while these people might be garbage, you might not be. It's not my job to try to figure out what you may or may not be. And to be honest, I don't care to. That's stressful to try to do in the first place. And again, just think to yourself. If you have the mindset of, you're going to be bad anyway, so let me mistreat you in advance, how would that encourage the person you're talking to show you their good side? Because most foreigners that are visiting Japan are adults. I'm not a damn dog. So if you're going to treat me like shit and then expect me to have to prove that I'm a good person to you, yeah, you can miss me with that bullshit. I'm not going to play that game with you. You wouldn't play that game with yourself. So why would you expect that of me? The idea that, you're a foreigner, so why don't you prove to me that you're not like the rest of them? Now, granted, I fully support foreigners proven that they're not like the rest of them by not purposefully doing shitty things. But that's also a dumb, flawed idea to begin with, because the reality is most of us don't do that type of stuff. But again, using your own logic, not just yours, but a lot of people think that, including the Japanese, that most do that. So sure, I believe in the prove them wrong idea. But also, most people aren't going to play that game. And in this sense, we're not just talking about, what I was referring to, which is, make your people look good, but rather the idea that you have the right to mistreat me until I prove that I'm worthy of being treated otherwise. And then you kind of basically say, well, even if they do treat you badly, well, I'm just here to get paid and mind my business anyway. Okay. like you're okay with being abused, like, good for you, but I'm not going to advise that for other people. That's the problem that's going on right now. A lot of you guys are very vocal on, like, even reading your comment, it's very obvious how you feel towards foreigners. People are very vocal on getting on foreigners for what they do wrong. But then when it comes to acknowledging the Japanese side, which fine, I'll give you props, at least you kind of acknowledge that what they do is wrong, then they're very quiet and quick to brush it under. I mean, literally, foreigners will write a whole book on all the rules that, other foreigners break, etc. But then when it comes to, all right, by the Japanese races, then it's like 2 sentences. Yeah, they're racist, but foreigners break the rules. It's like, okay, but you just like, not you in particular, but I mean, you can kind of tell your feelings there. But other people, they'll write so much about everything we do wrong. But then with them, it's like, well, yeah, they do this, but it's because they do this. Okay. So what they're doing is racist and wrong, right? Can we agree on that? All right. Can we also agree that adults are capable of understanding that everyone should not pay the price for a few people, or even most people, because you're an individual? If you are hanging out with a group of people and all of them steal something from the mall, but you don't, should you be punished too for hanging out with them? Now, granted, I can see why you might think you should, but you didn't do that. That was them. The whole guilt by association thing is my favorite word, a fallacy. That would be considered as guilt by association. The idea that, okay, well, the black people that are here in Japan, they cause X amount of crimes. So, since you're a black, guilt by association's for you. So, we have to treat you standoffish. We have to brace ourselves because you might do X, Y, and Z. That is fallacious thinking. The idea that because this group of black people did something, I now have to be punished for their actions. You wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want that. It's unfair. I don't know about where you're from, but where I'm from, people don't normally grope others on trains or take upskirt videos. It would not be fair for me to act like there's an ARPIS on board when an Asian man gets on in Chicago. I should not alert everybody. Everybody be careful. There's an Asian man there. That would be wrong, would it not? Or maybe I don't say anything, right? Maybe I just get up and move. Now, granted, he is Asian. He might do this. What if he's Japanese? Or I could say to myself, he may be Asian. He may be Japanese. But he's given me no reason to believe that he's, first of all, going to do this. I don't even know where this man is from. Okay, well, likewise, you don't know what country I'm from. If you guessed, you'd probably be right if you thought American. Which I'll be honest, they more than likely will guess correctly. But they don't know for certain. I've done nothing to make you think I'm going to do anything wrong. I don't stink. I've shown no signs of being lost and needing to ask you for help. But even if I did, wouldn't that be a bad thing to do? You believe somebody might need help, so your solution is avoid sitting next to them? That sounds kind of evil. I mean, think about it. If you were in Honolulu and you're lost as a Japanese person, do you want Americans to be avoiding you because they're afraid of you asking for help? Would that make you feel welcome? Would that make you want to spend your money there? No, it would not. So, I'm done. Y'all could talk about this forever. All I want to say is this. That's a myth. Most foreigners do not break the rules here. The idea that it doesn't matter because you can ignore it is also stupid too. Sure, everything can be ignored. That doesn't mean that it needs to be ignored or that it should be. You can ignore the fact that you broke a bone. Your life will go on. You don't have to go get treatment because you have a broken bone or a fracture or anything else. You don't have to go to the hospital because you get sick. But it's probably the best thing for you to do. Okay, well, likewise, well, sure, I don't have to address these problems. I could just brush them under the rug and let my life go on like how yours is. Or I can decide, you want to know what? If nobody ever talks about these things, how can we expect change? Well, I want to speak on it. And I hope that someday it does and will change. I hope that someday people look back at this video and they're like, huh? That was a thing in Japan? People used to do that. I want that day to come. Just like how it sounds crazy, the idea of a colored drinking fountain in the US. I want Japan to wake up to that realization someday. And no, for those of you extreme weeboos, I'm not asking Japan to be like, the US. In every sense. There are some things America can definitely learn from Japan. I've already talked about that before. I'm simply saying, I do want the whole issue with racism, prejudice, xenophobia. I want all of that stuff to be gone overall. You can never stop everyone, I know. But it's so messed up that it's normalized here. At least in the US, the average person has a problem with those things. In Japan, it's like, oh, well, it's not racist. Or, oh, well, yeah, I guess it is racist. But then they don't do anything. They don't stand up for you. In fact, you all stand up more for them than they ever will for you in your country. So, whatever. Like I said, I love Japan, but it has its problems. And I know that some of you guys, may have an issue with the idea of, how can I put it? I don't know. I feel like there's so much of this obsession with trying to blame foreigners for everything, even when it doesn't make sense. And I get it to a certain degree. Because yes, I get mad when they break rules too. But it's like, okay, you break rules too. In fact, there's rules that you would have broken if somebody else didn't stop you from doing it. So it's hypocritical. People like to point out, the thing that somebody else has in their eye, not even realize that there's a whole chuck of wood inside your own, as the Bible says itself. So, whatever. Anyway, you're wrong. The majority of foreigners do not break rules here. The idea that you have the right to be prejudiced because of past experiences, that will be an endless loop of racism. That's literally what people call themselves doing when they're racist in the first place. Their mindset is, I have reason to treat you poorly because of things that I've seen you do allegedly. Or that I've been told that you do. That's why prejudice and racism exists in the first place. That does not suddenly excuse it and make it right. And by that standard, black people have the right to do that to everybody. Because whites enslaved us, Asians came into our neighborhoods and treated us like trash. But then again, if I had that mindset, I wouldn't be married to an Asian man. I wouldn't have my half-Asian children. I wouldn't have a lot of the friends that I have right now if I carried that mindset. That's stupid. Because, well, yes, some of them most certainly are assholes and treating me poorly. That ain't everybody. I wouldn't even say it's most of them. And the same thing goes in reverse. I'd be a liar if I pretended like all black people are angelic and super kind and sweet to every Asian person they encounter. That's not true. Likewise, that goes for white people too. I most certainly have seen white people get treated poorly, badly, whatever, by black people just going to school together with them. And the last thing that I want to say, kind of going back to the beginning of the comment this person left, was that, and that's why I'm going to stop after this, the idea that, I can't believe I'm going to defend you guys because you all are always getting mad at me, but white people, that you are responsible for the stereotypes that you have. I actually disagree with that a little bit. At first, I felt that way. But the older that I get, the more I realize that's not entirely true. A lot of the stereotypes that you have placed on you aren't even based on things that you've done per se, but rather things that people have done to you. I mean, think about it. The reason why, certain things that people take starts with the C, ends with the K. There's so many things that did. No, there's not. Crack. The reason why that's even a stereotype for black people is because of who? The government brought that into our communities. Gave us a problem and then joked about us having the problem. and stereotyped and blamed us for it. That's one of many examples. I would say the same thing goes for other stereotypes too. You can't avoid telling people rules and they get mad when they break them. For example, it is an unwritten rule that trains have to be completely quiet. But you learn it from being there, right? There's lots of other little rules too. For example, you go into a restaurant, there's not signs stapled up, saying, hey, don't do this with your chopsticks, don't do whatever. There's all these little rules that have rules that have rules that have rules. And again, this is one of many, many, many examples. But the idea that you are responsible for your own stereotypes, well, sure, I can agree that some stereotypes, it is true. You made these things exist by doing things constantly. All right, fair enough. But the idea that all of them are, I disagree with that. In fact, I said this before, I'm going to stand on this hill. A lot of the blame and hate that Americans get is from things that we don't even do. It's other foreigners that look American and or that speak English, but we take the blame for it because we're the fall guys. There's people that pretend to be American, make up stories, or they'll tell you, I saw an American do whatever. No picture, no video, just a written post. And we take it at face value because they said it and it's negative about Americans. But if I said something negative about Japanese people with no video, I don't show my face, I give no picture, I just make a written post, there will be 1,000 people that will comment and tell me how I'm wrong. They must have been Chinese, and they'll have all these excuses made up for them. So, no, I actually disagree with you. You are not responsible for the things that people say about you because people lie all the time. People lie, people exaggerate, people create problems and then blame you for having the problem, even though they're the ones who gave you the problem in the first place. So, whatever. And I should also add, you were saying unless it impacts your day-to-day life. How does that not impact your day-to-day life? If the majority or a large portion of people, because I'm going to say the majority of Japanese people treat you poorly. If a lot of Japanese people that you're going to interact with are going to treat you poorly based on your nationality and or race, that would affect your day-to-day life. So your comment, once again, makes no sense at this point because that would affect your day-to-day life. If people are treating you bad constantly avoiding you, constantly ignoring you, and even job-wise, there are jobs that you cannot get or have difficulty getting because you are not Japanese. So sorry, you can stick your head in the sand all you want to, but it does impact and negatively affect your life. You might be okay with it doing that, but that doesn't get rid of the fact that this is a problem. And while you may not find it to be a big problem, other people do. And let me also add, even if no one found this to be a big problem, that does not stop it from being a problem to me or existing as a problem in general. For example, a lot of Japanese people live happily with roaches. I would not suggest doing that. Just because they're okay with it doesn't mean it's a good thing. They just decided to embrace and accept it. Okay, well, you can choose to embrace and accept their mistreatment towards you. I'm not going to join you. And I don't suggest other people do it either. So, I should also add, they wouldn't do that. They would speak up and talk about it too. When they have bad experiences abroad, they're very vocal about it. They've tricked you all into thinking that you can't do it because they don't want negative things spread about their country. Understandably. So, I'm done, you guys. I can go on about this forever. My point is this. I get what you're trying to say, but I believe you are, well, wrong. That is not a very good argument to make. People here that are visiting or living, especially living here, most certainly do follow the rules overall the vast majority of the time. And most of the time when rules are being broken, it is Japanese people breaking them, not foreigners. You just don't like them, so you've decided to hyperfixate and focus on the ones who do not follow the rules, and you ignore the overwhelming majority who do follow them. If you were to go to a touristy area and stay there all day, I can assure you, the majority of people that you see are following the rules, and very few, if any at all, for that given day are going to break any of them. In fact, I personally believe a really big reason why you keep hearing about, oh, most foreigners do this, most foreigners do whatever, is because they want to justify their racism by pretending like that's what most of us do when that couldn't be further from the truth. If they keep telling you most people do this, most people do this, most people are bad, most people are evil, it desensitizes you. It's very similar to what white people did back in the US with black people. To make you feel better about being a slave owner, to make you feel better about mistreating blacks, they dehumanize them. Because see, if you don't see them as humans, it's much easier to mistreat them. The same thing goes for foreigners in modern day Japan. The more that they tell you, look at how evil and bad and wrong they are, it desensitizes you. You no longer feel empathetic towards them. You don't feel sympathy towards them. You feel like they deserve the bad things that happen to them. You see what I'm trying to say? It's the same mindset. So that's all for now. I forgot to tell you guys, I literally changed into my pajamas. I got a little too comfortable. I was eating. I didn't want to get no food in my clothes. So I'm done. That's all for now. So yeah. They kept their comment a little sarcastic, mostly respectful, I assume. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I disagree with what you have to say about that. I get what you're saying, but I also believe that you're wrong. And you can feel free to continue to feel that I'm wrong. So I actually published your comment because despite the little bit of sarcasm, I pretty much feel like what you said was reasonable. I'll accept it. But yeah, that's all for now, you guys. I'm done with my video recording. I'm so tired. I need to take a nap. I need to get some work done, and that's all. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your 2 cents down below. And yeah,